Hey guys, before we get started, please do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Hello everybody, and welcome to yet another Comedy Tip Tuesday. I'm your host, Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world, and today we're going to talk about the role of jealousy in comedy competitions. What's up everybody, Thai Rivera here. You just heard it. You know who you're talking to, you know who you're listening to, you know what day it is. As always, we are going to start off with the question. I know that I had already said what I want to talk about today, and that actually came from a question from a viewer too, and I really wish I could remember her name, but I lost the message. It wasn't on the most recent Comedy Tip Tuesday, it was on an older one, and I was like, yeah, I'll definitely address that, and then I just completely did not screenshot it, so I'm sorry to whoever you are. I know it was a female, or I assume it was a female, not to assume anybody's gender in Pride Month, LGBTQ Pride Month, but I'm not trying to assume your gender. I assume it was a woman, and she had a question about jealousy, so we are going to get to that. But first, I want to take this question that comes to us. Let's see, is that straight? Yeah, that's straight. That comes to us from Lucas Kopp. Lucas Kopp asked, how do you feel about doing mics in rooms ran by people that don't like you, or at the very least act cold? I know it's a mic and maybe a hostile environment is a good place to practice, but it's still irritating. This one I'm definitely qualified to answer. I would tell you not to worry about it, and eventually what's going to happen is you're not even really going to notice it. That's where I'm at with a lot of these situations. Sometimes I walk into rooms where people don't like me because they've read about my politics on Facebook, or they think certain things I say are self-hating or anti-LGBTQ or whatever they think. My thing is that I'm there to tell jokes, and a lot of my Facebook is meant to entertain. So when people take that stuff too seriously, I don't really take them seriously as comedians, and as long as they'll let me go up, as long as nobody's giving me a hard time about getting stage time, then I'm just going to do what I do, and I'm going to block everything else out. And it is very good practice. I've always said this because in every audience, you're going to notice there's going to be at least one person that doesn't really seem to be vibing with you, maybe has their arms crossed, and that's going to irritate you at first. But practicing with being around comics that may not necessarily like you, or maybe a little indifferent, or maybe a little bit cold, to me is the perfect place to do that, because once it happens with an audience member, you don't want to let that get the best of you and attack the audience member, because sometimes, my dog's dying in the background right now, because sometimes it'll turn out that that person actually does like you a lot and just isn't the most expressive. I've seen that happen a million times where audience members will seem to not like me, and then I get off stage and they're like, oh yeah, I really loved you, blah 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 blah, and in my head I'm like, well, why didn't you laugh the whole time, or why was your posture so shitty, or your body language, arms crossed? But you learn to deal with that, and like I said, dealing with it at mics is a perfect place to deal with it. Also, sometimes you have to remember, certain times people have said the Comedy Store is like that, and the Comedy Store kind of is like that, because until you've been around for a little while, they're not going to really acknowledge you, because they don't know who's going to stick around and who's not. It's the Comedy Store, and that's the way things go, and that's sometimes the way a lot of us comics look at it. We're like, okay, well, I don't know if you're really going to be around or not, so I'm not necessarily going to invest in you. And some people would say that's a shitty way to be, but even I've been guilty of that. Like, I don't memorize names the first time because they might just do a mic or two and then decide they're not into it. So it is what it is, and I would tell you that it's just something you'll get used to, and start getting used to it now. Like, allow yourself that time to practice in that. It'll make you a stronger comic for sure. So I know, like you said, it's irritating, but at this point, I don't care what anybody's doing in the room. I'm on stage, I've got a job to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So that would be my best advice on that. Now, I really wish I could find that comment, but I just don't have it, like I said. And the thing is, it was kind of a long comment, so I wasn't going to read all of it anyway, because in case you guys don't listen to Unbothered by Thai Rivera, which is my podcast that comes out on this same channel on Wednesdays, there's been a lot of drama lately. But if you ever listen to that podcast and just hear me talking about regular things, I'm not the best reader in the world, so I probably would have stumbled all through that long comment. So it might have been God stepping in being like, you're not going to be able to read that whole comment anyway. Whatever it is, it is. I'm not the best reader in the world. Blame it on a learning disability. Blame it on me just getting nervous when I'm reading. Blame it on the rain. Blame it on the stars shine at night. Gotta blame it on something. Anyway, here's what I will tell you guys about jealousy when it comes to competitions and stuff like that. I think it's wholly and completely unnecessary, because what you have to remember in certain competitions, and I think this is a perfect time to answer this because there are so many competitions happening right now, like World Series of Comedy is really heating up. Technically that doesn't happen until October or September, but we are getting closer to where it matters and where they start picking the top 100 or whatever it is that comes to Las Vegas. And there's also various competitions that happen in the summer and festivals. And sometimes you have to remember with these things that it is sort of like a casting in certain cases. So they are looking for certain types of people. So if you're not that type of person and you're getting jealous and bitter, then it really is wasted energy. To me, it's wasted energy anyway, because you never know if it's about your comedy or if it's just about that they're looking for a particular thing. Like there was one particular contest where I was at where I happened to be in the hallway and hear something I shouldn't have heard. And they were actually looking for a female winner for that particular competition in that particular year. And what ended up happening was they get to the finals, and the girl that they had kind of put in position to win ended up choking. And so the guy that was in the competition with her was, neck and neck with her, ended up winning the competition. Now imagine if he had had this in his head and he had started to get bitter over it and decided that he wasn't going to be able to win anyway. He would have probably tanked his set, and then she probably would have ended up being the winner after all. So it's better that he didn't know, but even if he did know, just to completely block that kind of stuff out. Like the thing I do with competitions, because I've won a few, including World Series of Comedy, but I have won several contests, to tell you the truth. And for me, the way that I've always done it is I always just tell myself in the beginning that there's no way I can win, so I might as well just have good sets. And some people would say that that's self-defeating thinking, but for me, that's the best strategy, because then that's really the way I look at it, is I'm like, I'm just supposed to have great sets. That's all I need to do is have great sets, because I obviously can't win this contest anyway. And it really has been an effective strategy, because what happens is a lot of the other comics will choke because they're in that state of mind where they're like, competition, I gotta win this, I gotta win this. And then they end up choking, and since I think I can't win it anyway, I end up having a really great set, and then that's how I ended up winning. And so that would be my advice as far as strategy goes. But as far as like the jealousy, there's no reason to be jealous of other comics, in my opinion, because what's meant for you is going to come to you. And that's something I've always stood by. Like, I am not one of those people that is running around jealous of other comics and their success all the time. There are a lot of people that started with me or around the same time I did or after I did that are in the comedy world making more money than I am, getting opportunities that I haven't gotten. They're on Netflix. But it's not about jealousy for me, because my thing is, when it's my time, it will be my time. And I know that some of this maybe bleeds into a little bit of like life coaching or that kind of thing. And I'm really not trying to do that. But if I get asked how I deal with a particular thing or how I look at a particular thing, then I think that at that point, that's what I should tell you guys, is what it is that's effective for me. And I really do stand by this thinking, because for me, it's just a way of always staying happy. Every once in a while, those thoughts will creep in. I am human, so every once in a while, I will have a quick second where I'm like, why is this person doing that? They're so not funny. But then I just remind myself, it doesn't matter, and their journey doesn't affect my journey. So to me, that's the best way to look at it. That's the best way to think of it. Don't get too caught up in what other people are getting and what you're not getting, because what they're getting doesn't mean that you can't get something else. Like some years you'll win certain competitions and you'll not win certain competitions. Certain competitions or festivals you won't even be accepted for. Other ones you'll not only get accepted, but you'll kill it as well. And those will be really great opportunities. So take what it is life's giving you and make the absolute best of that. And then from there, figure out what you want to do as far as the following year for the competitions that you didn't get accepted for. Find out maybe what it is they didn't like about your tape or your submission. Sometimes instead of getting defensive, because I've seen comics get defensive over that, they'll specifically ask for feedback, and then the judges or the judge, depending on how many people are judging, will give them specific feedback, and then they'll get like, well, they're trying to tell me what to do with my act. No, you asked why you didn't get in that competition, and they gave you an honest answer. And then you can decide moving forward if that's something you want to change, if that's something you want to correct, or if you don't think that that's something worth correcting, or if you think that, hey, this is my style, this is what I do, so let me not spend my money submitting to this competition again, since I know that I'm not going to be what they're looking for, or my material isn't what they're looking for. So go for the places that are telling you yes instead of the places that are telling you no, and then you'll deal with a lot less jealousy. Because, like I said, somebody else not doing well or doing well isn't affecting you either way. It's not like because they don't get in, now all of a sudden you're guaranteed to get in. So, in my opinion, jealousy is wasted energy, wasted effort, especially in the stand-up world, because what you'll find in the stand-up world is it's not fair. And it's not gonna be fair. It's based on so many things. You want to say, hey, it should just be about the funny. I agree, it should just be about the funny, but it isn't. So you might as well just work with the cards you're dealt, make the best of every situation, make everything work for you, keep a good attitude, congratulate other people for their successes. That would be my best advice on that. And I hope that that satisfies that question. If anybody has any other questions, please leave them down below in the comments. I definitely do appreciate you guys watching. This has been Comedy Tip Tuesday. I'm Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.